Our I got five segment, which is our five things about the current episode or the last episode of Game of Thrones season 8. This last episode was the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones. It's the Bells, appropriately named because of the details, obviously, in the episode that clearly had to do with the bells. Let's just jump right into that shit. I want to hear everything that you have to say because I am going to go so far in on this episode, but probably not in the way that people.
Okay.
Maybe in the way that people are expecting. Since
okay. So before I get into my five things,
sure.
It's gonna be hard for me to talk about Game of Thrones without addressing some of the controversy and the hearsay and just the bullshit that's been going on around the show.
Now you're starting to see what I'm saying.
Yeah. So and you said this in earlier recordings, and to me it just didn't hit yet. But now I'm really seeing
it. Yeah.
There's a online petition right now.
To have season
8 redone because people don't like the writing of for the writers for Game of Thrones, because I think they're at the point now where the books have not gone.
So can I pause you here real quick? Okay, this is stupid for a number of reasons, but the chief reason of which is they act as if these haven't been the writers since day one, and then two, you act as if George R. Martin was just like, the books are done. I can't fucking help you guys now.
Yeah.
Like what the out of anything,
we don't know what we're doing. We're just gonna fuck everything up.
Wouldn't you think that would make him more involved in the writing process? And then on top of that, how involved did you think he was in the writing process? He clearly was not in the fucking writer's room like, hey guys, you know what, that line doesn't work for me. I'm gonna have to veto that line. No, he's like the Game of Thrones is their fucking work. They clearly adapted his work, right? So they go to him for notes saying, hey, where are the big plot points? Where is this story going overall, right? And then it's up to them to get there on their own. To tell
the story along the way.
So they've been telling the fucking story along the way. Of course, they had the books as a guidepost for the first 5 seasons. But you act as if they haven't gone to him for notes thereafter, as if they've just been, fuck it. Like, let's just make this shit up.
Now, if George R. Martin was the one who came out and said that he doesn't like season 8.
Then okay. You got it.
Then I will say, all right, you know what? Maybe this, the creator of the show, the writer of the books, if he comes out and says it, I'm going to say, he has a valid point, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's coming out and saying this. Maybe he's onto something, right?
Sure.
But if it's 50,000 assholes who come out and say, let's start an online petition, we don't like it, right? And the reason is, it's because the show is not giving the fans exactly what they want.
Ding 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 ding.
And so I had this conversation in the group chat with a few friends of mine, and they're like, I wanted to see Cersei die like a bloody, violent death. And I was like, that's what you wanted. That's not the way the story was written. That's not the way the story is going to be told. The writers gave Cersei, the writers gave the fans the death of Cersei that we all knew was coming, but not in the way that we expected. Hey. But I think it was still done tastefully.
Hey, my friend. I gotta fucking drop a fucking bomb for you.
Thank you. I needed a bomb on that.
Hey, say that a little louder so the fucking people in the
if you're a
the
true
last
Game of Thrones fan,
Mm-hmm.
you appreciate what's happened. You were given what you wanted, but not in the way that you expected, and that's to me the telling of a good writer, a good storyline. It's like if I wanted a certain way and you give it to me a certain way, did you really challenge me in any way? No.
Yeah.
Now, if I wanted something, you gave it to me, but in a way that I didn't even see coming, in a way that I couldn't have imagined, that's when I'm like, okay, you know what? This is good.
Yeah.
Could Cersei have gotten her head chopped off? Sure, but that would have been too easy. We just saw Missandei get her head chopped off.
Yeah.
We've seen Ned Stark get his head chopped off. So many people have gotten their heads chopped off, right?
Yeah.
Too easy. Could she have been burned alive by Dany's dragon? Sure. Again, seems too easy for that to happen. Yeah. There's a reason why Dany didn't just fly up to the tower to begin with and burn her alive. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So all of this online chatter of fans talking about reshoot the entire season and they don't like the writing. Shut the fuck up.
Do us all a favor and shut the fuck up. Yeah.
So that's what happens when something you care for is coming to an end. You begin to criticize
with
everything,
every single
step of the way.
show that's ever existed. This has happened with Breaking Bad, Mad Men, Sopranos. Sopranos were the most notable.
People
which
hated the Sopranos ending.
Did you watch the ending of Sopranos?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Okay,
but I know that it was one of the most hated
people are like,
episodes.
did my TV malfunction? Do I have to call Comcast? Because I think my cable just went out. Like, with the way Sopranos went out, it was just. Did you watch any of the Sopranos?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
As far as I understand, it was like a hard stop. Right?
It was a hard stop, but if you think about the fucking and I'll explain. I'm gonna save that for when I jump into the fold. I'll let you continue.
Okay. So again, all the people on the internet with all your bullshit petitions and your bad mouthing the show, I get it. I'm afraid too. I'm a little bit scared of a world where there's no, where there's not another episode coming. Yeah. Right? That's a scary world to live in.
Sure.
Or the knowing that there's not another season coming. I'm frightened too. But what I'm not gonna do is pretend like I haven't loved every single fucking season up until now, right? Yeah. I haven't loved every episode of season 8. I don't think there's been a bad episode yet. Maybe some episodes didn't go the way I anticipated. Maybe some episodes, maybe I didn't love. And you're not gonna love every song on your favorite album. You're not gonna love every episode of your favorite TV series. But at the end of the day, the writing is great, the acting is great, the story is great. This is the same great Game of Thrones that we've come to love. And I think when it's all said and done, when this final episode is done, we're going to love it. And people are going to, you know what? It was it was great.
I think history will look back kindly on Game of Thrones as a whole. People will clearly, say what they say about both season 7 and 8. But again, I'll get to my analysis of everybody's, not only Game of Thrones, this episode, the bells, but also everybody's reaction to it. I'll let you dive into what you think about the actual episode.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my 5 things really quickly. My first thing, obviously, the episode started out with, it was very Varys heavy, right?
Yeah.
It started out with, Jon returning home, Jon... his walk on the beach and the conversation he had with Varys, which Tyrion oversaw. Clearly, Varys was telling Jon that...
That's some fucking hearing that Tyrion has. Because how the fuck did he... How didn't he know what they were talking about? He could have been like, hey, did you eat a bagel this morning?
Yeah.
How do you know?
How'd you sleep? How was your travel? I like your shirt. Anything. But Tyrion just fucking knew, right? So Varys... and the reason I like Varys' character is he's always wanted what's best for the kingdom. He's never been particularly loyal to any king or queen. He wants what's best for the 7 kingdoms. And you have to respect someone like that because they're never going to put one person over the many, right? So he was basically telling Jon that I know that you're the rightful heir to the throne, and I think that though you may not want it, though you may not feel you're prepared for it, you're the best person to sit in it. And I'm getting frustrated with Jon because, particularly in this episode, because it's like he came all this way just to pretty much be like, I don't even know what to call it. It's like he came this far, but he's not going to finish the race. He's resigned to just being told what to do. At this point, he's just a soldier in her army, right?
Well, the reason why I think that is because she basically served him with, the long night. So that's why I think he feels he has to return the favor of just like, look, I don't really agree with everything that's fucking happening here, but fuck it, like. She did me as fucking solid. We're all literally alive because of her.
Yeah. So, but like throughout the entire series, he's had a moral compass, right? Where he knows right from wrong. And it seems like in this particular season or in the last couple episodes, he has dialed back on that moral compass, and he's now just very comfortable with being told.
He's actually adhering to his moral compass because his compass points towards loyalty. This is what got Ned Stark killed. This is what got Rob killed in a way, was having a word and then sticking to it. If Ned had been smarter, he wouldn't have been so trusting of fucking Littlefinger or anybody in that scenario, and he would have played it much smarter than he did. If Rob was more skeptical of his surroundings, less trusting of others, then he would have avoided that whole thing with what's his name?
With the Frey.
The Walder Frey.
Yep. So and I understand that, right? But what's happening here is he's being loyal to a fault.
But that's his character, right?
Yeah.
Is like, so for instance, at the end of season 7, we're all like, fucking John, just fucking don't pledge to anybody's, don't say you pledged to fucking Daenerys.
Yeah.
And Cersei would have fucking rode up north with you. Like, you know what I mean? But he had to do it because he has to be a man of honor,
Yeah. So again, we saw it a little bit, and like he's had certain slight faults throughout his storyline, but now we're seeing the gravity.
Why that's kind of bad
of all of that, right?
Yeah.
When you're loyal to a fault, to a person who may not have the right intentions, and you lead that person's army into battle,
or a person you're unsure of.
The person you're unsure of their intentions, you're unsure of their reason, you're unsure if she's fit to truly sit on the Iron Throne. You have your doubts, right? And then you lead this person's army into battle. That's fault. That's a fault, right? You're loyal, which is great, but it's a character flaw, right? So the episode opens up with Jon Snow and Varys' conversation. Ultimately, Tyrion hears about it, and I think Tyrion is clearly just trying to get back into into Daenerys' good graces. So he goes and tells her that
Freudian slipped her.
Yeah, that who knows whose good graces he's trying to get back into, right?
Yeah.
So he goes and tells Daenerys that someone's betrayed you, and I absolutely love the scene with Varys in his cell writing the note, right?
Yeah, I don't think he was in his cell,
or
but
not
I think
in his chambers.
He was in his. Here's a weird theory: is that Varys was actually secretly trying to poison Daenerys.
So yeah, the little girl, right? If you really go back and listen to what they say in that conversation, he's saying. The little girl's working in the kitchen, and she comes to tell Varys that Daenerys won't eat, and that Daenerys' guards are watching her, right? And Varys, tells her that, if the things with the greatest reward come with the highest risk, or no risk, no reward, something to that nature, right? And he tells her to, keep trying, go back to the kitchen, right? So I didn't catch that at first, but I did some reading online, and that was brought to my attention. And
I mean, I kind of thought that, like, I didn't think that at first, but it wasn't out of the realm of possibility, because Varys is like, fuck, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll do whatever for the kingdom. But
I did think that was a great little piece that they put in there, which most people, you were not going to catch that.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that.
But again, I think to me it just shows really good
how far he'll go.
Writing, how far Varys will go, so that character development. Like, we learned a lot about Varys in just this one episode, just before he died. Right?
It's consistent though.
We saw how loyal he is to the kingdom.
Yeah.
For actually going to Jon Snow and basically telling him not to necessarily betray Daenerys, but to make his claim for the throne. We saw how much he is willing to stick with his beliefs no matter what the cost. And we saw what it cost him. It cost him his life at the end of at the beginning of the episode, right?
Yeah.
At the end of his day, the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
So I really loved what they did with his character.
And they fulfilled the prophecy, not prophecy, but the prediction was fulfilled, right? Melisandre says to Varys at the beginning of season 7, when she links them up with Jon Snow, she says, you're gonna die in a strange land just like me. And Varys looks at her like, what?
Very true.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't make that connection. Very true.
Yeah.
So, that's my first thing. I love how the episode started, right?
Yeah.
I love what they did with Varys' character. He didn't die for no reason. He was right at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And Tyrion not necessarily betrayed him, but Tyrion was
I didn't really see it as a
death.
betrayal, dude. Like, I didn't really see it as like,
because Tyrion knew that Varys was ultimately going to
do that,
betray Daenerys, and they pledged their oath to her. So if you know your boy, or if you know your boy is about to betray your other homeboy,
but it's kind of bullshit, right? Tyrion snitches clearly on Varys, but then he just goes and lets Jaime out.
Exactly.
That's kind of bullshit.
So towards the end of the episode, I really did begin to question if Tyrion at this point knows what the fuck he's doing. Because you get Varys killed.
Yeah.
You get him executed, only to go and free your brother, right?
Which you know is probably going to get you killed.
Exactly. And
is a betrayal.
We all knew that Jaime was not going to go and tell Cersei to ring the bells, or Jaime was not going to.
No.
And Tyrion was clearly waiting for Jaime to climb that tower, and he was looking for Jaime to ring that bell. I think
he was looking for a way for the war not to be like he knew what it was. And what I loved about that whole sequence, there was two things I loved about that whole sequence of Tyrion freeing Jaime. One, I loved the fact that he's basically just keeps telling Jaime they're going to fall. It's going to happen. And you're thinking, damn, like, does he know something we don't? Like this? But then you think to yourself, she does have a fucking dragon. Like, but we haven't seen her up until this point. We really haven't seen her use her dragons too strategically. It's always been kind of like, they come through with a fire, but also they can fucking, shoot those spiders out of nowhere and plug those dragons up. The second thing I love about it, man, I almost shed a fucking tear, man. Tyrion and Jaime were saying their goodbyes.
So my second thing was that the scene between Jaime and Tyrion. I mean, these two characters have been very close for a very long time. So not only are their characters in the show close, right?
Yeah.
You get a sense that these two men do genuinely have great chemistry on film and off the film, right?
Yeah.
And off camera.
Yeah.
And it really translated in this particular scene where Tyrion is basically telling Jaime, like, I wouldn't have survived my childhood if it wasn't for you.
Dude.
Like you are the reason I'm alive. You are the only person who's ever loved me, that I've ever loved back.
And this is some shit that people say that, like, it sounds a little whatever, but like, like men aren't really allowed to like display
affection towards one another.
Towards, like, especially like when it's not in a like when it's just like literally just like love. Not, there's nothing else to it. There's just like, hey, I have a love for you. Like, and with the performance by Peter Dinklage in that moment was just fucking so touching, dude. Like, he was just like, and you hear him like choking up a little bit, and Jaime's like choking up, and they're both like, fuck, and like, my god, it hit me hard, man.
Push through the emotion to stay in character, deliver their lines,
but to do it, there's so much emotion there.
I mean, I absolutely love that scene. Like, it was hard not to get a little water under the eye.
I got a little misty. I got a little one of those. There's something in my eye, right?
So again, for me, that goes back to like, what was this all for, right? You know, all the times we've seen Jaime rescue Tyrion, all the times we've seen we've seen their relationship grow and change in so many different ways, right? And now we're in season 8. It's all about to come to an end. You kind of want to see some of these characters have their either their final moments or see the accumulation of what their relationship truly mean. And we saw that here. Tyrion knew that if he let Jaime escape, this would more than likely be the last time he would ever see his brother, right? So it's like, I could let my brother stay here and be a prisoner. Maybe Daenerys will kill him, maybe not. Or I could let him go be with my sister and likely die together.
I think he really was hoping that they would escape.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. The boat, he knew the boat would be there. Yeah. He was hoping that they would make it off of out of King's Landing.
The world's greatest smuggler, Davos.
Yeah,
apparently was supposed to get them a boat and shit.
Well, I mean, the boat was there. Tyrion said the boat would be there, and there was a boat there. He just didn't expect Euron to be there as well,
which was stupid. Euron definitely should have just died on the fucking on his ship. When it got blown up by Daenerys.
But
like, there's no use for fucking Euron at that point.
No use.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't like. I think that was a good challenge because it wouldn't have been that easy. Jaime can't just escape
and then just get there
find
to Cersei.
A boat, get to
but
Cersei.
At least have Euron, like, maybe he's already there at the keep. Maybe he made it back somehow. But, like, for him to come out of the water at the exact time that Jaime...
that was kind of bullshit.
Like, all right, come on.
This nigga could swim, right? God damn.
I mean, he's an Ironborn, right? What is dead may never die.
Jesus Christ. That's some Michael Phelps type shit.
Fair enough.
But no, anyway, but I did think it was a good obstacle for Jaime to overcome.
Sure.
And how he got stabbed like twice in
My
both
dude,
livers.
Holy shit.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I think he punctured a lung, too.
Yo,
I don't...
Crazy. He twisted an ankle. He had a headache. God damn.
I don't think he ate lunch that day. Yeah.
And then it's not like King's Landing is a small city. It's a massive city.
Yeah, this dude's fucking hiking miles. And this is like, fuck it.
He definitely...
Anything for Cersei.
That was like a 10K that he did. Jesus
He
Christ.
did a decathlon. That was a decathlon that he did.
With that heavy fucking brick hand and a sword. And it's not... They didn't have fucking Ultra Boost running shoes. They didn't have...
They had the Yeezys.
New Balance. They didn't have any of that shit. They had fucking Timberlands. That's what they were wearing. So shout out to James for traveling those miles.
Hey,
he must love him some Cersei.
Dude, he fucking loves him some
but
Cersei.
My third thing here is I finally enjoyed watching Daenerys be strategic with her dragons. When Euron and the Ironborn, when they were on their ships and they were fully fucking mounted and ready to go, they had a massive amount of arrows. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way Daenerys is dumb enough to take her dragons to take her last dragon
and just go, the same thing
and then
she
fight
did.
all of those ships and fight, all of the harpoons they had lined up.
She did fight all the ships, but this is what I understood from the last episode. What was kind of dumb about, like, them catching Rhaegal was that, like, they didn't see it because they're so up fucking high that it's like, how did you not see those ships that are right there, and there's like a fleet of them too. That was kind of like a stretch of the imagination, but I still accepted it that they just caught them off, guard. But here's like, this is a war. She's expecting for the ships to be there. She knows she has to deal with them. So what do, right? Strategically speaking, if you have a fucking dragon, and what did I say last time? You come straight from up above, right down on top of them.
And
that's exactly what I fucking said.
So she took the high vantage point. She dropped straight down because the arrows
the sun.
The arrows at best. Yep, exactly. So she used the sunlight. Arrows at best can fly at an angle, right? So if you drop straight down, you're more than likely going to dodge all of those arrows. And when you get to water level,
you just
then
keep
those
moving.
Harpoons have to then adjust to shoot downwards, and they can only shoot downwards, but so far. So as long as you're moving quickly and you're moving low, or you're very high,
or you just keep changing your position.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't stay in the same.
And you force
thing.
them to continue to not only reload but adjust all at the same time.
Yeah.
You should easily and the dragons are massive, but they're also very quick and very nimble.
Yeah.
So we saw her use her dragons strategically here. She took out the entire Iron Fleet. She destroyed every harpoon that was mounted on the wall.
Can I say one thing?
I love that shit.
Yo, that's with one fucking dragon.
Could you imagine
she
had all
would have
three?
stepped with all three?
Ugh.
They would have had no choice but to burn King's Landing down. There wouldn't have been enough for them to do. That
the dragons would have just got bored. And Daenerys can only ride one dragon, right? So if she came with all three,
the other two would have been like, I'm just cooking right now.
I'm about to turn up. I've been drinking dark liquor. I'm about to turn up. One of the dragons,
I got that Henny in me. I'm feeling right.
If one of the dragons showed up with a bottle of Henny, the VSOP, is a wrap. With a blunt too.
It's over, yo.
If one of the dragons showed up smoking and drinking, everybody's good.
Yo, had that fucking Cali Kush. It's over. It's a wrap.
But so I really liked watching Daenerys finally be a strategist, right? Because she's not stupid. She knows what she's doing. She's lost 2 dragons, but she knows she has to win. She knows she has to risk it all. If I'm going to risk it all, I'm going to be strategic. I'm going to give them what they're expecting.
Yeah.
Or they were expecting her to show up, right?
Get into this shit.
They weren't
Get
expecting
into the shit what everybody's talking about. Come on.
Get there.
Yeah.
They weren't expecting her to show up in the fashion she did and as prepared as she was.
Sure.
My fourth thing here was the battle between the Mountain and the Hound, right? The Clegane Bowl.
Yeah.
I had to go back and rewatch their fight scene to really get a perspective of how masterful it was, right? You get these different sides of it, right? On one side, there's this epic battle between this half zombie monster massive man that's the Mountain and his brother, and that the entire series has been building up, or this is one of the moments that the entire series has been building up to, and we were all hoping we'd get it. For a second there, I didn't think we'd get it. I thought it would be Grey Worm who would want to go and find the Mountain and kill him. No,
because they didn't make it I knew that wasn't going to happen because they didn't make it a big enough thing that
at the beginning of
the Mountain
this last episode.
Yeah, well, or
just in general.
In the previous episode, The Last of the Starks, where obviously Missandei gets beheaded by the Mountain, they didn't make it a big enough thing that the Mountain did it. That he was just like the executioner. He wasn't really like he didn't take his time with it. He didn't make it excruciating. He just slit her throat or cut her head off and was like, "Yeah, fuck it, it's over."
So here's when I knew it wasn't gonna be Grey Worm in this particular episode. Mm-hmm. When Daenerys and Grey Worm were sitting in front of, or standing, or she was sitting and he was standing in front of the fire, and she has the collar or the chain. I think it was the collar, and then the chain was attached to it that Missandei was wearing at the beginning of the series, and she gave it to Grey Worm, basically saying like, you should have this. This is hers. It is now yours. Here's something to remember her by. And he just threw it in the fire. That's when I knew that, okay, this isn't going to be, we're not going to see Grey Worm.
Because at this point, he doesn't
try to avenge his woman.
He's not about revenge so much as like he is about like, oh, I have no heart anymore. It's okay. I don't have any feelings anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to kill everything in my way. I have a theory about that.
So, again, I loved how beautiful the fight between the Mountain and the Hound were. Like when you look at when you really go back and watch it, not necessarily watch the fight, but watch the visuals around them. The castle falling, you're getting a peek out into King's Landing and how beautiful of a landscape it is that they're kind of fighting in, aside from like the entire burning village and the millions of people dying. And you get the fire, and we know that the Hound is afraid of fire, right? But he fights through that because he has a bigger task at hand, right? Down to the point where he tackles the Mountain through the wall, and he basically falls into the burning city below. He ultimately dies by fire. That's how it's all started.
Yeah,
that's
it
how
begins
it ended.
and ends. Yeah.
So I thought that was done beautifully. I really enjoyed that
grand opening, grand closing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lastly, Arya's journey through the burning city. Right? Yeah. And when you watch, the recap of the episode afterwards, we learned that they decided to follow Arya's journey through the burning city because it was more meaningful. Right? There's a character that we actually care about, so we care about her journey making it out of the city safely. Where if they just followed random burning people and random women and children running trying to escape, it wouldn't have meant as much because we don't care about their lives as much. Yeah. But Arya, the entire way through, like you're praying to God she makes it out of the city, and then there are moments when she falls and you're like, oh my God, she's not gonna make it.
Quite honestly, like I kind of
I don't know how she made it.
I was like, she
must have had ways.
I was like, she's not gonna die, but also there were moments where I was like, is she gonna fucking die?
But like, her navigation skills are on point. Like, she had the GPS out. She was like, all right, turn left in 100 feet. Falling building ahead.
And then fucking had the Uber waiting outside for your horse is here.
But through that journey, not only are we following Arya and like we're just as tense and nervous as she is, and like we're wondering, is she gonna make it out of the city? We see her struggles along the way, right? Yeah. Before the attack happened, we see her sneak into the.
She did fuck those people up, though. I'm not gonna lie to you.
They probably would have been a little bit better off staying in there. But so in the beginning we see the mother and the child, right, and they're kind of following behind Arya in the mountain, trying to get into King's Landing or trying to get into the Red Keep. The doors closed behind them, right. Later on, Arya, I think she sees them again, or like the woman helps Arya up when she falls and she's being trampled. And then the third time Arya sees that mother and the child is when they're hiding in that building, and Arya basically says to them, like, you're gonna die if you stay here. Follow me. Ultimately, Danny came through with the dragons, and they got fucked up either way. Yeah. But what I thought was most interesting about that scene, I remember in episode 1 of the season, when we first see Danny arrive in Winterfell with the dragons, you see Arya look up at the dragons in amazement, in admiration, right? Yeah. In amazement, like, oh my, like, these are the dragons I've seen and I've been told stories about as a child. Now I'm seeing one here in person, right? But now we see her looking up at the dragons in the sky, or dragon in the sky, in fear,
as destruction. Yeah.
And then that scene ends with Arya essentially getting the white horse and riding it out of King's Landing, and is that foreshadowing for her being the White Knight, right? The hero.
No, that's not the White Knight. Death. What is it in Revelations in the Bible that I think it's like the pale horse or the pale rider on the horse or whatever, it symbols death. Like in many different regions and many different sort of
death rides
cultures,
a white horse,
or I guess the paleness, like that represents death. Like the white horse represents death. And I think that's what it is. Yeah, because it was they were very whoops.
Take it easy.
Yeah, I know, right? Beating up the mic, motherfucker. No, but they were very clear about, like, because like this fucking one solemn horse, out of anything that would survive in King's Landing at that moment, this one horse comes out of nowhere and is like, all right,
yeah,
giddy up. Like, no, like they were very purposeful in that.
Yeah,
and I think that's what that was.
Did the many-faced God send her the horse? Right.
I don't know, but all I know is she's my lead candidate to then kill Danny.
Yep, and that's what I took from it. So not only, again, was her going from looking at the dragons in admiration, but then going to look at them in fear, and then the white horse riding out of Winterfell. Having watched that mother and that child die, Arya's not going to forget that. She's not going to go back.
Oh, no.
She's not
Danny's
just
got to go.
Yeah, she's not just going to go back to King's Landing.
No, and be like, yo, you know what the funniest?
And just let shit slide.
You know what the funniest shit? I have one more question for you before you're done your section. But the funniest shit I heard was, yo, what if Danny comes back like, hey guys, yeah, that was a fucking crazy war we just had. That was wild.
Yeah, see that shit? Fire everywhere.
Yeah. Fuck. Yo, like, what if she comes back like nothing happened? Yeah. Like, damn, guys, we won.
Yeah. Well,
high fives.
Save the 7 kingdoms. Like, what about those millions of people you just murdered? She's like, what?
Casualties of war?
Like, what?
Drake.
She's like, I plead the 5th. Yeah. 4, 5, 5th.
Yo, but what?
That Chappelle show.
Yeah. Okay, what did you feel about Danny's turn? How did you feel about it? Did you feel like it was appropriate? It was fitting? It was on schedule? Like, what would you, or not thereof?
When she was sitting on the edge of King's Landing, on the wall on the edge of King's Landing,
right before the bells rung.
So is that
or during the bells ringing? Yeah.
So I think that's when the bells were ringing. Yeah. Right, and she's sitting on the dragon, who's resting on the edge of the wall of King's Landing, staring out at the castle that she knows Cersei's standing in. Right. Mm-hmm. Part of you hopes that she just flies her dragon over there and destroys all of the Red Keep. Right.
Sure.
What I honestly didn't expect was for her to just start slaughtering innocent women and children.
Yeah.
That's when we really see that. Hey, this is the Mad King's daughter, right? Like, she has fucking lost it.
Yeah.
And you kind of, you have a distaste for her. Like, I don't at all agree with what she did. Killing all those millions of innocent people, and for what? The people that you said you were gonna save. This entire thing has been about, not having a tyrant sit, on the Iron Throne, right? Yeah. And become that person in one action. She could have just went and killed Cersei and it would have been over.
Yeah.
Right? She could have, they rang the bells, they gave up. That could have been it.
Here's my argument.
But again, I understand the rage and the anger
in her.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't. But and I'll address that here in a sec. But here's my reasoning for that, right? Like, is if you kill Cersei, sure, you kill Cersei, and then people are like, all right, I guess you killed Cersei, whatever. But you don't have the heart of the people, right? Because you're looking for their love. If she just kills Cersei, then she has to rely on the love of the people, right? But it's already been displayed.
Jon has the love.
Jon has the love of the people, right?
Yeah.
He's the man of the people, where they're just like, oh my God, this guy Jon Snow is fucking dope. I love this guy, no matter what he does. He shits gold,
Yeah.
She knows she can't go with love. So, and she literally says
Jon
this in the episode.
That it will be fear.
All right, not love, then fear, right? So she's like, look, if I just kill Cersei, that's not fear, because anybody can fucking look. A dude with a fucking crossbow could go and kill Cersei, right? What do I have to do? Instill fear in them.
Yeah,
I have to let them know, and not just fear for the people in King's Landing.
Fear for everyone in the Seven Kingdoms.
All the Seven Kingdoms, they have to know who their queen is, and they. So I digress. So that.
No, I mean,
you wrapped up with.
So, and I think my last thing here is going to be Jaime and Cersei's death.
I was going to get to that. Yeah. I was going to
So,
get to that. Yeah.
What again? Was it the death that everybody hoped for? What did Cersei get her head chopped off? Did she get burned to death by a dragon? Did she get eaten? Did she get betrayed by anyone? None of those things. Pretty much throughout this entire series, I've given my theories of how I thought she would die.
Yeah.
Maybe thought it would be the crossbow that's Tyrion used to kill Tywin that she gave to Bronn to kill.
Yeah.
I thought that would, or then I thought it would be Jaime was going back to kill her because he knew that it was the only thing. It was the only way to save the millions of people. It was the only way. Nope. They go down to the tombs, and then the fucking roof collapses because the builders didn't build a proper foundation. Right? The contractors,
whoever the architect was for that building, clearly should have their deposit. They should get whoever put in the money for that structural building should probably get their money.
The contractors probably knew, like, we didn't build that shit right.
It's not going to withstand dragon fire.
Yeah,
it is not.
I'm glad she fucked it up because there were going to be some claims filed. There were already some claims in litigation that we didn't have the money to pay out. So,
this takes care of it.
Glad, I'll bend the knee. But again, I thought it was purposeful, right? It's Jaime and Cersei came into this world together. They went out together, right?
It's a beautiful sort of nod that they give there.
Yeah, we saw dynamics of their personalities towards the end. We saw how much, even though they're brother and sister, which is still very gross.
It's all gross, yeah.
Yeah, we saw how much Jaime truly did love Cersei, despite, as Tyrion said, knowing exactly who she was.
But he's loved her. That's why I think he says to Brienne, "Hey, Cersei's hateful, and so am I."
Yeah,
because they're one and the same. Yeah. It's not like they're different.
And we've grown to like Jaime, but again, I think in this episode he became more of who he was. Where he's like, you know what? I've never really cared about those people.
I would argue that he's always been who he was. It's just that.
Again, we've grown to like him.
We've grown. Yeah, right? He's done and I think that gets to sort of what, and if I can kind of interject with starting. So that's a perfect starting point for the angle that I'm trying to take it in. Everybody likes to say, and I'll start with Jaime. Jaime, his story arc was complete when he went back to Cersei, right? Because we misinterpret his story arc as, Jaime's redemptive. He's redeeming himself, right? Jaime's always been the same person, even if he was that slick talking, kind of asshole sort of dude that we saw in season 1, maybe even 2. I forget when him and Brienne started their thing in terms of like their journey towards King's Landing.
3 or 4.
But right up until that point, we all viewed Jaime as just a dick. He's just a kind of a douche.
Yeah.
But then we start liking him because of that whole storyline with Brienne. The thing about it is he doesn't really ever change. Like he kind of has always been that dude. Like, of course, yeah, like maybe now he wouldn't push a kid out of a fucking, tower. But I would argue that he still did crazy shit after we believed him to be a changed man. For instance, he fucking rapes Cersei after we believe he's had his turn as like, this good guy. He fucking raped Cersei. Like, I think we all casually forget that, right? Like, so after Tomlin, no, it was after Joffrey. After Joffrey died, at Joffrey's fucking tomb, when they were putting him away, they're the only two left in the place. Fucking raped Cersei right there.
Yeah,
and we're all like, I mean,
I kind of forgot about that.
Hey, he did some nice things to Brienne, so we forget it. Like, no, like this dude was, he's still that guy.
Yeah.
That's why, again, I think the words that he echoed to Brienne rings perfectly true. And that concludes his storyline is Cersei's hateful and so am I. We're one and the same. Sure, I may have done a couple things that you can misconstrue as like, hey, I'm a good guy. I want to fight for the living. I come to fight at Winterfell, during the long night. I do all these things, but deep down inside, this is who I am, through and through. Me and Cersei are essentially the same person. That's why Tyrion can say to him, you knew what she was all along and you still loved her, because he knows that's him. Like, it's not any. So let's get to Cersei, right? Cersei's storyline, everybody's crying on, I wish Cersei had a more fitting end, it's such a...
I'm fine with it.
You know what? It's a pathetic ending, a pathetic character. Let me ask you a very striking question. Besides getting rid of the people in the Sept, right, where she blew up the Sept?
Yep.
Which, by the way, I'll add the caveats to the Sept, right? Literally, if it wasn't for the High Septon being a fucking arrogant prick, everybody could have literally just walked out of there. The Scepter would have blew up, and they'd have been like, "Damn, that was crazy."
Yeah,
on the business.
Because didn't they lock him in or something?
No, he basically just walled everybody in. There was nobody else holding the people in there except for him, right?
Yeah,
the High Septon, right? And what's her name? Tomlin's wife. It starts with an M. I want to say Marjorie. Yep. Yeah. So Marjorie was saying, yo, we need to get the fuck out of here. Cersei's not here. We need to get the fuck out of here. If they would have just casually just listened to her, I'm like, damn, that sounds like a good idea.
Yep, they would have all lived.
They would all lived, right? So even that's a terrible plan that she had, right? But I'll give that one to her. Besides that, name one fucking thing that Cersei has done right on the show.
Nothing.
There's not a fucking thing that Cersei has done right on this show. Everybody likes to, because she's got a slick mouth, everybody likes to say, she's the smartest character on the show. Oh, she's so cunning. She's so this. She's so that.
The only thing she does well is instill fear, and fear can make
absolutely. But that's I'm going to get to. Hold on. I'm going to get to that. So she has a slick mouth. So everybody's like, oh my god, Cersei's this or that. Her only ambition on the show, literally, I don't even think she has the ambition to be the queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Her only true ambition on the show is to keep her kids alive. Where are all her freaking kids?
They're dead.
They're all dead, right? She has that ambition, and yet they all end up dead. So even by her own measuring stick, she's failed herself, right? That she hasn't accomplished any of the goals that she set forth, right?
And even now, she's pregnant, right? So she's with child.
And she didn't even do the fucking one thing she could do to save her child.
She could have
let Miss Sunday live. And she could have just bent the knee and be like, you know what? All right, you got it. Hey, let me go live my days in fucking some bumfuck wherever.
And even as she saw her entire kingdom burning, she could have said, you know what? I give up.
I'm getting out of here. No. What she did.
Or run and hide, right?
There's a scorpion. What about us? There's no scorpions left. Okay.
the Golden Company. They're all exactly.
Dead. But people misinterpret this as, oh, like they fucked up her character because she remained strong, but in that moment she was weak. I would contend, I go back to what Fabe said to me before I even watched the show. Fabe said, Cersei told Littlefinger, right? Power is power, right? Cersei at no point during the show has had any actual power.
Yeah.
Never at any point, right? She's always had the illusion of power, right? She was the queen under Robert Baratheon, right? She was Joffrey's mother, right? But even Joffrey kind of slapped her around a little bit. You know, he kind of shut up. You know,
what the fuck up?
Shut up. You eat your Cheerios. You know. She never really until Tomlin died, right? But even when he died, what the fuck did Cersei do as queen? Literally nothing.
Yeah.
She literally does nothing with her power, right?
Which is why they say, like, you know, in this episode that, you know, no one in King's Landing loves Cersei. But again, they fear her.
They fear her, but it's not a true fear, right? Because it's like they fear her only because she's in a position of power. Cersei represents, I think, what the standard bearer is in reality of people have power because you give them power. The only reason why the queen is accepted as the queen and she can direct people, she can direct a mountain. You saw at the end, the mountain was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Who's the person with the like, it's like Bane in Batman, right? Where he's talking to, I forget who that dude is.
Fuck. And I love this particular scene.
Where he's like, where the dude's like, no, I'm the one in power here.
Yeah,
and he's like,
and then Bane puts his hand on him. He's like, do you feel it? Do you feel like, what does he say? Like, do you feel powerful or do you feel that?
You know, and
it's just a hand on his shoulder, and he's like, that's power.
Exactly.
You know I can snap your
at
neck
that
right now.
point in time, you know who the fuck has the power. So when people talk about Cersei and this whole situation of her going out the way she did, she had a very fitting end because that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Where you have somebody who never really actually, she's essentially a better Littlefinger, right? Littlefinger played the game and he was so clever in how he played, but he was essentially too ambitious for his own good.
No one
right?
feared him.
No
right?
one,
no
really
one loved
feared
him or feared him.
Cersei was cunning like Littlefinger, but she suffered from the same problem that Littlefinger suffered from, which is he never actually had any true significant power.
And what happens when you fake it as long as you can, right? You fake having, I'm this all powerful person.
You wait until the very fucking end,
then
until you're like,
hide.
Okay, I have nothing to do here but fucking run. Like that's all you have to do. So I think her dying in the catacombs of the Red Keep, I think that is so fucking fitting. You know, I hated Cersei so much because she was always so smug and always so whatever. But then when I saw that scene, at first I was like, oh, I wanted you to die a different way. But then I thought about it. I was like, no, that's perfect. A very pathetic ending because you have no power and you've never had any power. Yeah. And everything that you did was just an illusion to fake as if you did have power. Yeah. And this is where you meet somebody. It's like a bully meeting a giant bully being like, you know what? I'm not actually a bully.
It's kind of like one of the arguments against like, you know, executing people, right? Yeah. It's is that truly a punishment for them, right? If someone kills a bunch of people, do you kill them too? You know, it seems like it's the easy way out, right? You let them sit and rot in prison, right? In this particular case, Cersei went from being, you know, the queen, right? She went from sitting on the Iron Throne to running and hiding down in the tombs and ultimately just dying under rubble. To me, that is more fitting. That really shows how far down that person fell and only to die there than it would be if she were to be beheaded, right? Because that story would then be told in history. You know, Cersei sat on the Iron Throne and Daenerys came. And
nobody knows what the fuck happened to Cersei. They're like, did she escape? Did she fucking like? No, she died under rubble. Like, is appropriate.
When history remembers you in that way, oh, she ran and hid and died, right? Yeah, then your name will be forgotten in time. If she were to be beheaded or burned or eaten,
then
by
it would be sort of like
she would be
told,
infamous, right? There would be tales told about her. So I think this was more fitting.
Yeah. All right, and then quick side note. My man Qyburn, holy shit, the fucking mountain, her Cersei's hand.
Yeah,
yo, because I was always wondering like, what's Qyburn? Because maybe he's coming up with something clever. He always seemed like the scientist, so I thought maybe he'd come up with something for Daenerys' dragons.
Yeah,
yo, my dude, the mountain put an end to all of that. He was like, yo, if you don't get the fuck out of here,
and you know what? I'm surprised he stayed as loyal to Cersei as he did because he stayed there
He had nothing else to do. This dude had nothing else going for him.
Run.
Yeah.
Like you see, and he was the one telling her that all of these things were happening, right? He was the one who told her, you know, the Ironborn
or the Scorpions are all done. The
Scorpions are done.
The Iron Fleet.
Iron Fleet. The Golden Company. The Red Keep has fallen. He was the one. I'm surprised he stayed that long because
he has nothing else to do. Like if he goes anywhere else, he's going to be a nothing. So his one saving grace would be to save his perspective, or not perspective, but his queen, right? Because wherever she goes, he goes, right? Like he's her hand, right?
Yeah.
So really, he has a vested interest in trying to keep her alive. There was just nothing that was going to make that happen, but it was hilarious to watch because I was always interested, like what is his end? And his end is the mountain being like,
and I always wondered what control he truly had over the mountain.
He never had any control over
but it looks like none, right? But
I always wondered what control Cersei had over the mountain. Like, why did the mountain feel the need? Like, he's a fucking zombie. Like, why does he feel the need?
But
to
obviously, he
protect
still
Cersei?
has a mind of his own, right? Like,
Apparently.
he's still there.
Yeah, except for he gets stabbed through it, and he's still like, you know what? I still feel like I hate people.
Yeah,
I still hate the Hound.
I still hate my little brother, right? But Megatron once said, I'm going to quote Megatron here, right? He was like, and I think this was when he was fighting Optimus Prime, and Optimus was clearly winning, and Starscream came in, and Megatron's basically saying like, "Let's get out of here, like let's flee," right? And then Megatron said, a cow, or I think Starscream was like, "But sir, like you're no coward, or we're not cowards. We're what are they called again? Decepticons."
Yeah.
And then Megatron was like, "A coward lives to fight another day," right?
Yeah.
So I thought Cersei's hand would ultimately Qyburn. I thought he would ultimately just like run, right? Because at the end of the day, I think he's a coward. He's not a warrior.
I don't think he's a coward. I don't think that's ever been sort of hinted to on
Maybe
the show.
not a coward, but he's not a fighter. He's not
No,
a
he's
soldier.
not a fighter. Yeah.
He's a scientist.
But he's
an intellectual,
loyal,
right?
Like he's loyal. I would view him just like I would view not necessarily Tyrion, but maybe I would say maybe Grey Worm to Daenerys, right? Like that is like fuck it, like I'll ride with you to the end, like
But
like
again,
he's not a fighter, but he's like I view him as that same type of loyalty.
Yeah, but again, what we saw from Jon, we learned that there's loyalty to a fault, right? In this case,
yeah,
he could have.
He was definitely loyal to a fault.
He could have lived, right?
Yeah.
Why'd you stay that long?
Yeah.
In the tower.
Yeah, especially when Cersei's just standing there like a dummy. Like,
yeah,
I'd just been like, I would have
why
yelled
the fuck
from the bottom of the Red Keep. I'd have been like, yo, the Scorpions are done. You might want to fucking grab a bottle of Ciroc, head to
the Uber is here. I got this fucking horse. You want this horse?
It's the white horse that fucking.
We could take this horse.
Arya's riding. He's like, I got it right here.
She was like, nope. You want me to come back up there? You sure? All right,
the horse canceled the Uber. Like, all right, I guess I'm on to the next ride. Who's this? Arya Stark.
Arya Stark, 300 feet away. All right. The horse is like, I need to make money tonight. Okay.
Yeah. I've only had 5 rides. All right, I need more. Okay, so all that's done. R.I.P. the Red Keep. Holy shit.
It's just gone.
It's gone. It's done. The Red Keep. King's Landing. What am I saying? The Red Keep, fucking King's Landing is done. Like there is no sitting on the Iron Throne. There is no more Iron Throne to speak of. Yeah. And I would argue that this has been clearly foreshadowed. And I know people get so touchy about, oh, it doesn't matter if it was foreshadowed. That's not character development. Okay, calm down. I'll explain that in a second. But. Yeah, there's fucking no more King's Landing. King's Landing is
just a
done.
symbol now.
Yeah, it's just a symbol. Okay. And I'm gonna go a little bit of ways for this. In the show Angel, right? Angel is one of my favorite shows. One of the reasons why it's one of my favorite shows. This is the show with David Boreanaz. It was a spinoff of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. One of my favorite reasons for, or one of my reasons for having this as one of my favorite shows is that the dialogue in it was so good. And the reason why the dialogue was so good was because of like specific scenes like the one I'm about to talk about. Wesley, one of the characters on the show, during one of the episodes, he gets infected with something and he's not quite himself. And he's talking to one of the other characters and he's like, I have a theory. it's about how stupid you are. And then he continues to speak. And I just thought that was one of the funniest ways to disrespect somebody.
To do it so eloquently and so thoughtfully.
Yeah, to be like, I have a theory. It's about how stupid you are. And then like to continue, right? That's what I want to say to everybody who's dogging the show right now. That's what I like in my heart of hearts, what I want to say to them. But I'm not going to say that to them because I kind of understand where they're coming from. Because there's so much backlash that it's like, okay, I have to like investigate what's going on here because I see it.
You gotta hear them out.
I gotta hear them out. I try to think about why I'm seeing this so differently than everybody else, and then I realized why I'm seeing it so differently. It's because I just started watching Game of Thrones 3 months ago. I just started watching the show. Not even 3 months, 2 months ago. I started watching the show. I binge watched the entire show within the span of 2 months. So everything is fresh. It's all fresh in my mind. So obviously the big objection, and for my I got 5. I'm just gonna use the rest of my 2 that I have here for Daenerys. I'm just gonna focus on her. I try to think about why am I seeing this so differently than everybody else? Because everybody else, oh my God, this is not in Daenerys' character. Just fucking snap and just kill innocents, and everybody's comparing it to Anakin Skywalker. That it's what we saw in the Revenge of the Sith with Anakin Skywalker, where he just started killing younglings. Just fuck it, like this is what we're doing right now. But I think that's the incorrect comparison. The reason why I feel like I'm seeing it much differently is because I binged it. It's because I watched it all at once. So I got to see all of these story arcs play out in a short period of time. It's been years since I think some of the other people have seen the entire show through and through. I watched it twice, back to back, within the span of 2 months. I watched the entire show from beginning to end, or beginning to most current episode, within the span of 2 months. So everything is fresh. I see all of these character developments developing over time. But what that does for me is allow me to look at what happened with Daenerys, where she just basically snaps and fucking just starts mowing fucking people down in King's Landing, whether you're a fucking soldier or innocent or whatever. At first, it was, and here's how Daenerys is my favorite character on Game of Thrones. Right? She's my favorite character, right? I fucking love everything that they've done with the character till this point, right? So I'm speaking from a place of a fanboy. Like I fucking love this character. I actually even that night that I watched the Bells, I had nightmares about fucking dragons. Like I had this dream where I was in somewhere like King's Landing, and there were dragons just fucking attacking the place. And I saw this dragon, like I looked underneath, I was hiding in like some tree or something like that. And I saw this giant dragon's head peek out from underneath the tree, and it was about to like, so clearly this means something to me, right? I have an actual attachment to it. So I'm not just speaking from a place of detachment. I'm speaking from a place that I get it. Daenerys is a popular character. I love the character. It was heartbreaking to see her do that, but I understood it. I didn't understand where everybody else was coming from until I read a couple things online, because I understood where I was coming from. But I think what everybody else is sort of getting wrong about this is that they're, for one, not looking at the totality of what's been hinted, right? And I said before, people talk about what's been foreshadowed, right? It's not just about foreshadowing, though, right? This is not just like, oh, we're hinting at she has a dark side. How many fucking times has Daenerys done something where we've co-signed? And here's why I believe that the writers for Game of Thrones, and as well as George R. R. Martin, are just fucking brilliant for the show and for the books, right? They've done something that is the hardest fucking thing to do. They made us co-sign with a villain from the start, right? They made us believe a villain was a hero from the start. How many fucking things has Daenerys done from the start of the show that we co-signed with, but that was dark shit? When they fucking kill her brother, Viserion, right? Khal Drogo pours a fucking molten gold on his head, and we're all like, yeah.
And
he just fucking killed your brother by throwing, and of course, Viserion basically gave them no choice but to fucking kill him, right? But to do it in the fashion that they did,
and she felt pretty much nothing.
She was just standing there watching, like, I mean, I guess that's what happens, you know?
Because even then, she had the goal, which was to sit on the Iron Throne, right? She
knew Viserion, like, she wanted to get him out of the way because she's like, you're just an idiot, right?
And if Khal Drogo didn't kill him, she would have eventually killed herself.
And Daenerys is Viserion, with the exception of she doesn't have his stupidity.
Yeah,
they're one and the same. They both have the same ambition. But she just isn't as dumb and as loud and bombastic as him.
We saw her execute all the masters in Marines, right? Beheaded them.
I'm gonna get there.
Get there.
Actually, that's the next one.
I think that's the next.
That's the next sort of big thing. No. There's one other thing where I forget exactly where it was. It was the second. It was where they went to in season 2, where she meets a dude who is like supposed to be the rich black dude in the city, and then she fucking leaves him, and like clearly he betrayed her, and he when
she traps him in the vault or something like that, right?
To fucking suffocate.
Yeah. And die or starve,
and we're all like,
comes first.
We're all like, yeah, he deserved. Did he fucking deserve to be in a fucking vault suffocating? Yeah. Like, I get it. He wanted to kill you. He wanted to take your dragons. I get that. But you're just gonna return that in kind, and keep in mind here with all these things, we all believe that the people were deserving of it. Keep that in mind, because I'll explain that when I get to the end. Next, we get to Maureen, right, where she or was it Astapor? I think it might have been Astapor, where she essentially comes through and she's making the barter with the guy for the Unsullied. Mm-hmm. And I've always thought this about this scene, but I kind of put it in the back of my mind because I love fucking Daenerys, right? So I put it in the back of my mind, but I was like, yo, it's kind of fucked up where she sold her dragons to the dude and then she just set the dude on fire.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, you sold your dragons to the dude in a fair trade. He's like, hey, I'll give you the Unsullied if you give me your dragon. And she's like, all right, cool. Dracarys. Like, and we try to play it off like, oh, she was slick. No,
we love that
fucked
scene
him over
because it was like instant betrayal, right? It's we're gonna make this deal go through, but I'm gonna immediately fuck you over.
And I guess the whole point with that was
we saw it building towards her ultimate purpose, and we had no affection towards that guy.
None.
Right?
In fact, we knew he was a dick.
So we
knew he was a
misogynist.
Yeah, we justified her actions because we knew her ultimate goal, and we knew this guy was an idiot and a dick, and he clearly had slaves who he didn't give a fuck about. And that's when we get Miss Sunday. That's when we get Grey Worm. That's when we get the Unsullied. So we're all co-signing with it. But if you just think about it in practical terms, that was a fucked up thing she did. That was really fucked up. That she had a deal to sell. And I guess the whole theory is like nobody should be a slave, So when she yells Dracarys, it's like her saying like my dragons will never be your slaves, right? Yeah. Because they have power, And I get that metaphor, but also that's fucked up that you would do the deal and then immediately be like Dracarys and then get your fucking dragons back, right? Yeah. That's just in principle, that's fucked up. We move on to Marine, right? Where she goes and she's like, hey, and notice all the situations here. All the people are needing some sort of liberation, right? In most of the cases. In Astapor, the Unsullied were needing liberation. Missandei, she was needing liberation. Yep. And I even remember that to the context of season 7 where Jon Snow or Davos asked Missandei, hey, if you wanted to leave, could you? She's like, yeah, I think I could leave immediately if I wanted to, which I do agree with. I think Miss Sunday could leave, and Daenerys been like, all right, good luck. Hey, here's a fucking ship.
I don't think Daenerys would have killed her.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But she gets to Marine, right? What happens? They're slaves, right? They're slaves to be freed, right? And she's like, all right, I'm going to free them. And what does she do? She fucking, she says, hey, you guys are slaves. Your masters crucified people. They put up 163 people all in a line. What are we going to do? We're going to take the city and then we're going to crucify the masters. She fucking crucified people.
Yeah.
She literally crucifies people. And we're like,
and
good work.
It is one of those things where you always love to see bad people
get what's
suffer
coming
the
to them.
same consequences that they delivered to others, right?
Yes, but what is the operative word that you said there? Bad people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold that thought. We get to Marine. She crucifies the masters. And honestly, we even learn there that she's a good conqueror, but she's not really a good, I guess, leader, queen, whatever you want to call it, right? Because as soon as she does that, there's a whole shit ton of problems that she's like, man, I don't know how to fucking deal with this shit, right?
When there were people coming in one by one, and she's just like, okay, we'll give you money. We'll
exactly.
give you land.
No, well, there's even...
You get Yeezys. You get Yeezys.
There was even one person who was like, hey, I used to be a slave, and now I'm lost. Now that I'm not a slave, can I be a slave again? She's like, I guess you can be a slave again, whatever. Like, that was even hard for her. And there was the one dude who, I think the dude, like, the one dude was supposed to stand on trial, and then the one dude that was supposed to be on her side ended up killing that dude, and then she ended up executing him, right? So she loves to retain that power. Hey, I am the judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
As long as it passes through me, we're good, right? Because I'm the one with the power, and I'm the one who makes the decision. She's good in that scenario. Okay, so we move on to Westeros, right? Where she gets to Westeros. Nothing's that fucking easy in Westeros, right? Because think about her objective from the start. She wants to take over the Seven Kingdoms, right? I'm sorry, I didn't understand that there were any slaves in the fucking Seven Kingdoms. To my knowledge, everybody's basically just left under their own, left to their own devices, right? And if there was any, Cersei's a lot of things, right? One of those things that I would call her is apathetic. She doesn't give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
So whatever the fucking people do whatever the fuck you want to do. You want to do whatever. I don't give a shit, right?
Cersei wants to be the queen, but not have to, kind of like run.
Or she doesn't care. She doesn't care about fucking running the kingdom,
doesn't
right?
care about small things.
But what is that?
She gets the throne.
Exactly. What does that not make Cersei, right? A tyrant. And that's what Daenerys is yelling all along is, hey, we don't want tyrants. I'm here to unchain people. What is her name, right? The breaker of chains. And there's no chains to break in fucking Westeros. You literally just want the Iron Throne just to have the Iron Throne. There's nobody who's a slave, right? So that creates a problem for her. Her brutality isn't then masked under the guise of, I'm freeing people, so therefore I can just set everybody on fire and it's cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we arrived at the point that we do in the Bells, where she, Tyrion tells her from the start, hey, if you hear those bells, that means the war is over. You don't need to do anything more. We can just move forward, right? What I regret saying a couple episodes back was when Jorah Mormont died, when I did my analysis of The Long Night. I cared nothing about Jorah Mormont dying. I didn't feel anything. I thought it was kind of just like, it was kind of just thrown in there, and he, like, it's the predictable way of him dying, and I was just like, I don't give a shit, right? Yeah. But the one thing that I regret not mentioning is that was the beginning of Daenerys' heart dying, right?
Yeah, that was her. That was where she really began to unravel.
We all thought that her advisors were the people. We had Barristan Selmy, who I think he was the Knight's Guard, which he came over from, when he got basically fired from Joffrey. Joffrey fired him, and then he came over to Daenerys' side. He was the one who advised her, hey, hold a trial instead of just fucking killing this dude, because I think it was the guy from the Knights of the Harpy, or whatever the fuck they were called, the something of the Harpy. Yep. Something. My dude said, "Yep."
No. Like, I know who you're talking about, but I'm not gonna pretend like I know the name.
Yeah.
But I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he advised her to hold a trial for that dude, and she was like, "Okay." And the reason why he said that was because he was like, "Yo, the Mad King would just burn people alive and just not give a fuck."
You
right?
don't want to be. You
don't want to fucking.
You're already his daughter. People already have their reservations about you. Don't show them that they're right.
Exactly. So he advises her to do that. He dies, right? and then we flash forward to Jorah Mormont dying. I was like, I should have said this back when I did my review of The Long Night. That's when her heart began, and I knew it at that moment. I was like, this is not going to be good for Daenerys, because that's her moral compass. It's not Tyrion, it's not Varys, it's those type of people who've been with her from the beginning, who've been able to be like, hey, this is a good move, this is a bad move, hey, this is why you should do this. This like, and but she rocks with him, because I don't think Daenerys herself has a true moral compass. I think she says it, right? She says, hey, I want to be the breaker of chains, I want to be this or that. But I think those are all just excuses to just do crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
What is Dario, the dude who was in love with her, but she left behind a Marine? Dario something.
The one who went in, I think he went in with Marine and helped. It was him, Grey Worm. They sacked the village with Jorah Mormont.
Exactly.
That guy, I forget his name.
Yeah, Dario something. But he says to her, "You're a conqueror, Daenerys Stoneborn." I think he says those exact words, and he's completely right. She's a conqueror, right? And so far, she's been a conqueror with an excuse to be a conqueror, right?
Yeah.
That she's had what we would deem as a righteous purpose, right? But what happens when she gets to Westeros? She doesn't have a righteous purpose. There is no righteous reason why. There's like, Cersei's a shitty leader, sure, but she's an apathetic leader, meaning that like people are just kind of left up to their own devices, do whatever the fuck they want. There's no moral reason to go in there and say, hey, Cersei, let me fucking kill all of your people and then take over your throne. And then on top of that, Daenerys says the entire time, I am the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. No, you're not. To my recollection, Jaime Lannister killed your father, and Robert Baratheon killed your brother. Therefore, there is no more Targaryen dynasty. Like that. Yeah. That's it. You guys that's how this shit happens. Like that's how you guys took over. That's how it happened fucking to you. So your claim to Iron Throne is invalid, because you don't have like it's already been done. It's already been decided for years that Robert Baratheon took over, you know?
And on top of that, if there is truly an heir to the throne, it's Jon Snow, right?
Exactly.
Or Rhaegar Targaryen.
Exactly.
Right? So, you know, and around the same time that Jorah Mormont died is when she also learned that, or, you know, before he died, she learned that Jon now had a claim to the throne, right? And shortly after that, Missandei's death. So, I mean, all of those things happening back to back.
Exactly.
Unravel.
Right when you get to the Missandei's death, right? I think we all misunderstood, or not misunderstood, but we all took for granted the scene where Daenerys sees that Missandei get beheaded and steps forward and then turns around and then walks back, right? I think we all mistook that as, oh, she's just grieving. I think that's the second part of her heart dying. That Missandei was the other moral compass for her, where Missandei was this innocent former slave who would advise her, would not just advise her, but be her check, as in like, hey, like, am I morally correct in this situation?
Yeah. And I mean, no, I would say she was grieving there, right? Because like she you know,
she was
very much not herself, and she, as much as Missandei was, you know, that moral compass for her, I think she genuinely did care for Missandei, right?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Just like Grey Worm unraveled, where he just became, you know, he was like, hey, I'm going back to being just a fucking murderous warrior, you know.
Exactly.
She recoiled back into herself, which is, I'm here to conquer at all costs.
Which is, we arrive at the scene where Grey Worm, she hands the collar to Grey Worm, and Grey Worm tosses it in the fire. I'll call back to a scene in season 7, I believe it was. It's either season 7 or season 6. I think it's season 7, where Alina Tyrell, she has a conversation with Alina Tyrell, and Alina Tyrell says, hey, don't listen to your fucking advisors. You're a dragon, be a fucking dragon, you know? And I think that's what Grey Worm was saying in that moment, which was, we tried to be civil with these people. We tried to be cordial. We tried to give them an opportunity to say, hey, let's handle this the right way.
Yeah.
And what did? They cut fucking Missandei's head off. There is no more argument. There is no more discussion. There is no more, hey, let's be fragile with these people. Throw the fucking collar in. Because one way to look at that is like, oh, hey, we don't want to remember Missandei as a slave, right? So we'll throw her collar in. Another thing is, I don't want any recollection of this.
No attachment
all of
to
that,
the past.
all of that is done.
Yeah.
We've tried to be civil with these people, and what do? They cut our heart out. So, and that brings me to my philosophical question with Daenerys. The reason why I believe Game of Thrones is fucking brilliant, right? They've hinted to this for years, given all the reasons I just said, right? They've hinted to it that Daenerys doesn't really have a strong moral compass of her own, right? And then she's how we view people who are innocent or people who are guilty, right? Is subjective, right? That depends on the person who's deciding that, right? That's why people say, oh, it's just between me and God, right? Only God can judge me, right? Because and they hint to this early in the episode in The Bells, where she's having a conversation with, I think, Tyrion, where she says, hey, the people are as guilty because they're siding with Cersei.
Yeah.
And Tyrion's like, well, I mean,
Tyrion's
it's
like,
not
no,
really
that's not what's
their-"
happening.
Yeah.
She has food. She's providing them with a sense of security and comfort. She's using them as a tool.
Exactly. But what does that tell us, right? That whoever's innocent or guilty is subjective to the person looking at it.
Yeah.
So to Daenerys,
they were siding with Cersei.
They were
So
siding with
they were just as
Cersei,
guilty.
right?
Yep.
So, but then that begs the question of, if somebody has so much power, right? And they're the ones who are left up to decide who is innocent and who's guilty. Just like, and I forgot to fucking mention that Daenerys burnt alive the Tarleys, right? Mm-hmm. That Sam's father and brother, right? Like, all they said was, "Hey, I'm not gonna bend the knee to you," and she was like, "Dracarys." Like, what?
Yeah,
like
and she didn't even have to murder the brother, right?
She didn't have to.
She did them both just to prove a point.
And obviously her brother kind of like was like, no, I'll die with my father, but she didn't have to kill either of them, right?
Yeah.
If so, and this is, and bring me back from this sidetrack that I'm going to get to, but if we rewrite history and we then say, hey, what if Jon Snow doesn't have the long night to worry about? What if it's just they have to play this whole politic game with the Game of Thrones? He doesn't bend the knee to Daenerys. If it wasn't for the fact that she helped him out with the getting the white from the north and doing all that, he would never have bent the knee. So are you telling me she would have fucking been like, you're in whatever they would call rebellion or whatever from my kingdom or queendom, Dracarys? Would she fucking burn Jon Snow alive if you refused to bend the knee as Samwell's father and brother did? Like,
because what would make Jon different, right?
Exactly.
He's someone who's refusing to bend the knee.
So that's what I'm saying is, and it's an indictment not just on Daenerys, it's an indictment on us as the audience. That's why it's fucking brilliant, right?
Yeah. Because
all this time we've been cheering for her every fucking step of the way, and we're like, damn, that's a tough choice to make, but I still rock with you, even though you made that choice, even though it was clearly the fucking wrong choice. Her advisors the entire time when she burned Samwell or when she burned, I forget what their names are, but Rickon or Dickon, I guess they kept sliding his name, but Dickon, and then whatever the father's Sam's father is, whatever his name is, we cheered it because he was kind of a dick. So we're like, fuck it. Yeah. Go ahead and kill him.
Yeah, I mean, Daenerys has been consistent, right?
She has been very fucking consistent
in how ruthless she can be.
Yes.
And how much she, if she's not getting her way, if you're not going to bend the knee, if you're not going to be directly on her side and show your allegiance outright,
then fuck you.
Then, as you said, Dracarys, right?
So then when she sees the people in King's Landing that
who are not bending the knee, who are siding with Cersei.
And by the way, she just talked to Jon, and Jon was like, I mean, you are my aunt, so I'm not trying to really fuck you now. So
she made her decision.
I think that's when she made her decision, is when she sees the admiration that Jon gets, and she sees that her and Jon can't be an item, because Jon's like, I mean, dude, like, you're my aunt. Like, I can't fuck you thereafter. Like, that's not going to happen.
Going back to the moment where she's on the dragon, she's sitting at the edge of King's Landing, and she hears the bells, right? She hears them, and the bells are holding her back for a moment. But I think what she does in her mind is she mutes all of that out.
Oh, it's a political game at that moment, because she knows in that moment, hey, I can't have the people's love. And again, this is a conversation she had with Jon. It's either love or fear. I choose fear. Yeah. Right? Because she knows Jon has their love. And she knows as soon as this word gets out that Jon is the true heir to the throne, all she has is fear, right? So in that moment where she has to make the decision of, should I just chill or should I go get her, just fuck everybody up, she chooses fear. She says, I have to set an example, one of which has never been seen in King's Landing. I have to fucking destroy the city. She pulled a Thanos. We were all okay when Thanos said this, right? In Endgame, where he's like, I see that if there's any survivors, that's just not going to work, because you guys are going to try to like hell to fight for what you did have. So therefore, I have to rip this entire universe down to the last atom and then start anew. Yeah. That's what she fucking thought. We were kind of like, okay, I accept this with Thanos, but with Daenerys, nah, fuck it. We can't have that, because we love the fucking character, right? And I love Daenerys.
I do think that in that moment, Daenerys was kind of, in her mind, she was rationalizing, or at least going through the alternatives, right? All right, if I listen to the bells, if I draw back my army, if I let these citizens live, maybe they'll thank me, or maybe they'll show me a bit of gratitude
as soon as that word gets out of Jon,
right?
That's not going to happen.
But she knows that, even if they do grow to love me, Jon already has their love, and only that love will grow faster, right? If I kill them, then I will, I'll be viewed as like this tyrant, the Mad King's daughter, but they'll fear me, right? And we know from Cersei that power is power, right? But if you have true power and dragons,
actual
and an army and actual power, right?
Well, those dragons are the actual power.
Yeah. And then the Unsullied and the Dothraki, right? Like, that is actual power, not just the perception of power. She knows that this is my only option, right? Did she need to kill everybody? Did she need to burn down all of King's Landing?
She needed to set an example.
She didn't need to maybe do all of that, but you could tell. And again, like Thanos said, when he was like, I'm going to enjoy this, right? When he learned of Nebula's plan, and he's like, this time I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah. She didn't have to kill everybody in the kingdom. She wanted to at a certain point, right? And that's what makes her a true tyrant, and that's why she has to go.
And I know we're fucking in overtime here, and I do want to get you out of here. I just have a couple more points to make, and I swear this is done.
A couple.
I'm sorry. That's why it's brilliant how they come at it from the show, because they come at it from a multifaceted angle. One, they have the Targaryen bloodline, which is filled with incest, right? And Aerys, as well as I forget who his wife is, but they were both brother and sister, right? So, and people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, well, how do you explain that?" But how do you not explain that Jon is batshit crazy, right? I don't fucking know, dude. But you have that, along with the fact that Daenerys just suffered so many massive losses. Jorah Mormont, Rhaegal, her Viserion, who she had to fucking fight against. And she considered, and if you're to believe her, she considered these dragons her children. Yeah. And she saw one just get plucked out of the fucking sky like it was nothing. She had to fight against one, not to mention she watched that one die. She only has fucking one left, right? And then you have the death of everybody she has around her who meant so much to her. Jorah Mormont, Missandei, Barristan Selmy, whatever his name is. All she really has left is Grey Worm, because everybody else has basically betrayed her. Jon basically was like, "Look, I'm not gonna fuck you anymore." Yeah, right?
She has Grey Worm. She has Tyrion.
Clearly betrayed
she doesn't
her.
Trust Tyrion.
Tyrion has betrayed her several times over, or failed her several times over. And then side note, it was the creepiest thing in the world watching her burn Varys alive. That how she said Dracarys was the creepiest thing I've ever seen. How she was just like, how Varys just was there and she's like, Dracarys. Like it wasn't like Dracarys.
Yeah.
I'm being dramatic. It's just
Yeah.
like, this means nothing to me.
It
Dracarys.
was like, you know, and she said it to him, right? Or at least he said it, you know, when she was talking about if anybody would ever betrayed me, and I forget exactly how the conversation went, but and he said that I would expect nothing less, right?
Yeah.
So I think she said that as if like you knew. You knew this would happen. Like I told you this would happen.
But it's a different from telling somebody that and then actually carrying that out like it's nothing. Like that's when you know all emotion is gone.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
It's like I don't need to yell it. I don't need to scream it.
Yeah.
You know.
That was my side note. The thing I want to say is if morals are conditional, then they aren't morals, right? If we think she's a moral person because of the things we've seen her do, but we'd never put those into an actual context of, okay, well, what if you aren't freeing slaves and you're just burning people alive, you know?
Yeah.
So those principles have to remain true no matter what the situation. And for her, it's not that, hey, do I care about setting people on fire? It's like, are the people that I'm saving slaves? You know?
Yeah.
That's always been her saving grace, is having some sort of excuse to fall back on. And that brings me to my central point with Daenerys' character. The reason why I feel like people are having such an issue with this episode. The long-term objective for the character has been achieved. We've seen this from the start. We knew it was coming to this. We just didn't want to believe it because she's a beloved character, right? But we've seen all the hints of it all along. They've laid all of the fucking little traps for us to believe in. Where they failed was in the episode. The long-term arc of the character was achieved. The short term is in this specific episode. They kind of failed that in that
How so?
It felt rushed. That it seemed like if you're just a person who hasn't really watched Game of Thrones, or maybe it's been a long time since you've seen all the other episodes, when you see just this episode in of itself, because that's what it seemed like to me. Like, damn. Like, that's why it felt like Anakin. That's why I said a lot of people are comparing it to Anakin Skywalker, right? Is that it seemed like Anakin just went from 0 to 100 real quick when he fucking started killing those younglings. And it's like, yo, Anakin, like yesterday you were just talking about fucking locking up the emperor or whatever he was at the senator or whatever he was at the time, Senator Palpatine, and then today you're killing younglings. Like, what the fuck happened, right? That's what I'm sure it felt like for people when they see her just mowing down all the innocent people, right? But they forgot about all the shit that happened before. It's because in the actual episode itself, the short-term objective for the goals for the character, they didn't really, because Daenerys in that actual episode, she honestly doesn't get that much screen time.
No, she doesn't. She gets little screen time, and then we see her make these decisions very quickly, right? And here's what I think, right? When you grow to love somebody, and you can apply this to a TV show, a movie, or people in real life, right? When you've loved someone for so long, over time you see them show sides in themselves, and you brush it off to the side.
You create a false perception of that person.
I know who this person is. Like this is not who they are. They made that mistake. They may make that mistake again. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to excuse that too because I've known this person for 10 years, and a mistake they made one day does not define who they are.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you have a whole collection of mistakes that they've made and them showing you who they truly are. Yeah. And then you still put it to the side, right? You still put it in the closet and close the door. But it really only takes one moment for someone to fall. And when you fall, rarely do you get the opportunity to fall slowly and catch yourself. So what we saw was Daenerys fall, and as she was tumbling downwards, she leaned into it, right? She was like, if I'm going to be a snowball, I'm going to roll fast and hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on this dragon, and I'm not just going to go destroy Cersei in that tower. I'm going to
set a fucking example.
I'm going to make her watch me destroy her entire city closer and closer until the moment when I'm standing right in front of her, right? So, we saw Dany sitting on the edge of the wall at King's Landing. We saw her fall, and then the snowball just kept rolling, it kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Right? And that's it. Like
Yeah.
to me, it's as simple as that. So I feel like it seems rushed because,
if you're just taking this episode in and of itself,
it seems
out of context.
Yeah.
Out of context, it seems a bit rushed
because you've
in
grown
the
to
episode,
love her over 7 seasons.
not you've grown to love her, but if you don't really remember those 7 seasons, then if you're just watching this episode, in this episode itself, it seems rushed. But then I remembered what the creator said. They said, we're looking at these last 3 episodes as just a really long movie. Yeah. Right. So once I remember that, I'm like, okay, I'm watching this as a really long movie. So not only am I looking back to that, the Last of the Starks, the episode that preceded it, I'm looking at this episode, but then also I'm waiting to see how they conclude it, and then I can make my final judgment. But then also I have 7 fucking seasons
to
that
realize,
exactly, that I can look back. Now I was honestly, as soon as I finished watching this episode, I'm like, I don't even want to watch rewatch Game of Thrones, because I was like, it's gonna break my fucking heart every time I see
to grow to love her again.
Yeah.
Then,
oh my, it's gonna break.
Yeah.
But then after thinking about it, I'm like, no, we've been almost walked down this path by the writers of, she's going to do this. Like, this is going to happen. You're cheering all along because you believe, like, her justification for doing it was separate from the actual morality of what she's doing, right? Like, morally speaking, she's wrong pretty much the entire show, but her justification, we believe, was correct. So therefore we rode with her.
Yeah.
Those two things are divorced, and we as people should know better than that.
Yeah. So again, 7 seasons, we've grown to love this character, and then in one episode you realize that this person is not who they say they are. So it's gonna feel like, oh, bad writing or bad acting, or the story's wrong, right? Like, you want to find a reason or find a way to justify that this person is not who you think they are.
Yeah.
But they are just that.
Yeah.
We do have one more episode to watch, and we'll really see how this all turns out.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't have any predictions for this episode.
I do.
Other than Arya.
You believe Arya's gonna kill?
I believe
Daenerys.
Arya. Just because the horse, her last
that was
moment
too. They lingered on that too long.
It was too symbolic.
Yeah.
And I feel like at this point we have grown to realize who Arya's character is.
Yeah.
And there's no way she's gonna let that slide.
Oh no.
How it's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen,
Who knows?
is it gonna be Arya? I don't know. We'll see.
My theory about Bran still holds true. I believe the only way, because the fucking North can't take on Daenerys and the dragon and the fucking Unsullied and apparently a shit ton of Dothraki that we did not like. Apparently, just sat out the battle and was like inside fucking Winterfell. Like, damn, that looks crazy with you guys in the fire. Oh shit! Like, apparently, there's a lot more Unsullied than we realized.
Yeah.
Like, survived. But there's no way the North can do that, and all the other kingdoms are pretty much just in disarray at this point, so they can't really do shit. The only thing that I think can save is, again, if we restart the story. Now we need another Night King, right, to deal with the threat of Daenerys, and then go back up north, and then we just restart this shit again. My theory with Bran holds
But wouldn't
true.
that take another 1,000 years?
No, perfect for Bran, or not for Bran. And maybe the thing that I misconstrued was that he was a villain. I don't think he's a villain. I think he's, again, the anti-villain of, I'm doing a good thing, but I'm doing a horrible thing in order to get to that good ending, you know? So that's the only sort of caveat
He's like
that
the
I'll add in.
architect.
He's like the architect of everything that's happening, because and remember, he saw this vision of the dragons flying in King's Landing. Remember, all the way back in like season 3 or season 4.
Yeah, I remember.
He sees the vision of the shadow of the dragon flying in King's Landing. So he's seen this happen. He knew fucking Daenerys was going to walk in there and be like, yo.
Yeah, and now that it's happened,
my crib now.
What is his next plan? What's his next plan? What's his end game?
Jon Snow is our new Night King. Although slightly, I think maybe it's Arya that might be the new Night King. But I don't know. I still think it's Jon Snow. But I think we do get a new Night King because it's again, it's weird for me if the entire night, the entire
if
White
all of that
Walkers
was
was just that's done with the stab of the like
Yeah.
I still kind of like it, but also that's pointless if that's how it ends. I think we get a new Night King, and I think that's how they deal with Daenerys. But then I think that they just restart the cycle with, okay, the Night Walkers go back up, or the White Walkers go back up north, and then there's somebody in the north, and I think ultimately Sansa sits on the Iron Throne after they get rid of Daenerys, because Daenerys at this point has to die.
Yeah,
like she can't survive. Like they can't let her be like, that was cool. You stay in the King's Landing or wherever, Dragonstone, wherever you want, and we'll be okay with that. No, they have to fucking get rid of her. That was crazy what she did.
Yeah.
I think Sansa is going to sit on the Iron Throne, and I think Jon Snow is going to be the new Night King, and I think perhaps probably Arya maybe is the new Warden of the North, because there's no other Starks, right? There's no other Starks left. There's Sansa, Arya,
Bran,
Jon. So I think it's got to be Arya that's Warden of the North.
You know what? One of the things I hope they address is the theory of whether or not Tyrion is a Targaryen or not.
He's not.
I hope they either dismiss it, or maybe it's true, right? Maybe that's what one of the things Bran has been keeping from us, because we still don't know what happened in that or what was said in that conversation.
Oh, we still don't fucking know. Like, and they seem to be doing this with both season 7 and 8, where they have these cutoff conversations where
we never learn.
They had the conversation between Cersei and Tyrion, which I thought was a significant conversation.
And we never learned what happened.
We never fucking learned what happened in that conversation.
So I don't know. I think there's one more plot twist in here that they're gonna throw at us. Like, I think we're expecting certain things to happen.
Yeah.
Again, Sansa sits on the throne. Maybe Bran has an ultimate plan. Does Jon Snow go back north of the Wall? There's going to be another plot twist here. Again, like you said, this next episode is going to be like a movie, not just necessarily a continuation of
or the last act of a movie.
Exactly.
The last 3 episodes, or the last 2 episodes, were the first and second act, and we're going to get the last act of that.
So I'm intentionally not going to theorize too much here. I'm really just excited for this next episode.
And to close out here, that's what everybody should do. Is the reason why I feel like people are so disappointed in this season is that they had an expectation of what they wanted. They wanted something particular to happen, and I get it. If you're a game of, and again, that's why I think my viewpoint is different. I really wasn't a fan of Game of Thrones until I started watching the show 2 months ago, but it didn't, like, I haven't had years of, oh, I hope this happens. Oh, I hope I get to see this. Oh, I hope I get to see that. I've just been like, fuck it. I saw all of it. Now is the last season. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited to see it either way. I think that's what everybody should go into this last episode with, is not what you expect to have happen, but just fucking let the story play out as it may.
If you're a true fan and you know that this is the last episode and this is the last we're going to see of it,
fucking enjoy it.
Dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Take back your expectations, pull back your theories. Just know that, hey, this is it. This is the end of it all. Watch the show, enjoy it. Then make your assessment of this final season, the season finale. But in doing so, don't forget about the 7 seasons that have gotten us to where we are today. And don't forget that it's part of a greater story. So just be a fan, enjoy the episode, don't fucking ruin it, don't be a dick. That's my final thought.
Yeah, most def. All right, ladies.